You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national insurance columnist and financial color commentator. And all this week we're doing the Personal Performance Series with Dr. Jack Singer. And today's show, 5 steps to developing mental toughness, all on the biz.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant. We're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And day 4 with me, Dr. Jack Singer. Doctor, I feel like I'm just having a complete personal renewal.
There you go. There you go.
I mean,
how's that?
What should we, when we have human interaction on conversation, whether it's filmed like this or not, there should be some renewal. We should be better for it.
Absolutely, and unfortunately most people are worse for it because they are always questioning themselves. Did I do enough? Did I say the right thing? Mm-hmm. What if I made a mistake? Mm-hmm. You have to be really careful with that. I mean, when I first started working with professional clients, you know, way back right mm-hmm. after graduate school, I would say, did I say the right thing? What if the person does something that he shouldn't do or she shouldn't do because of what I said? And eventually you have to get to the point where you recognize those mm-hmm. negative kind of mm-hmm. self-doubts and get rid of it immediately.
I say to our producers all the time on the phone, I give you permission to be human, yes. Right? Because we want to be able to say, look, we all make mistakes. Listen, have I made mistakes with clients? Absolutely. Did I learn from them? I'd say some of those I actually learned from them. But the third thing going forward is, am I always trying to pick up nuances that will really help me sharpen my game? And having you on is sharpening my game. I know our producers, I know our email is going to be great on this show, on this series, because people are trying to say, I'm tired of my own negativity. I'm my worst, right. Proponent. Right. So how can I go ahead and change that?
Right. Well, what I'm going to teach all of your audience today is a 5-minute, 5-step mental toughness routine. The same routine that I teach athletes, professional athletes. You know, I've got professional quarterbacks who do this before games, they do it during games, but this is the same thing that all of you out there can do, whether you're at work, at home, or what have you. It only takes 5 minutes, and it's to be used whenever you start to think negatively, because you'll learn after a while what your negative thinking is. And if you don't think you do any negative thinking, ask someone who knows you very well, like your spouse or some of your children. Ask if they think you ever do any negative thinking, and ask them to give you examples. You will be amazed. It's an eye-opening experience. Many times the people who are closest to you are afraid to say anything, but if you give them permission, they will give you feedback that will shock you.
Well, I'm ready for my confessional booth. Wow, I feel like I'm going to have to go through it again, but I'm willing to do it because I want to see change. And by the way, we're hungry for this. Our industry is really hungry for change. Dr. Jack, let's talk about it. You list 5 things. You alluded to this on a couple shows back. This whole thing called snap the rubber band. I was like, wow, what's with that?
Well, the first thing we want to do is you want to have a rubber band always on your wrist. That's the fat kind that come in the mail. It's not tight around your wrist, it's loose, but it's just sitting there. It can be underneath your shirt. You don't have to display it if you don't want to. Have that rubber band available for the following reason. As soon as you recognize a negative thought coming into your mind, let's say it's a what if thought. Anything that starts with what if, those are the 2 worst words ever put together in the English language because they're always followed by something negative. Anytime it's a what if thought, or I hope I didn't, or maybe I shouldn't, or I think I'd rather not do this, or I hope I don't make a mistake, these are all negative thoughts. What we want to do is stop those thoughts dead in their tracks, and the fastest way to do it is a combination of snapping the rubber band enough to get your attention and saying to yourself, stop this foolish thinking right here. Now you may have to snap more than once because it's a habit and these thoughts keep wanting to creep back in, but if you snap hard enough, your subconscious mind is going to get the idea immediately, we better not go there anymore. And you want to stop it inside your head as well as physically with the rubber band. So that's step 1.
Pros are doing this.
Pros.
Pros are doing
well,
this.
They don't wear rubber bands during games. They'll slap
Sure.
their thigh pad, something like that. So,
wow.
Yeah, you don't have to actually use a rubber band, something that will get your attention. Step 2 is we want to do what we call a centering breath. And a deep centering breath always will calm you down, because if you started with negative thoughts, then you're not calm. What we want to do is calm yourself down. So a centering breath is in through your nose to the count of 4. hold it for a count of 4, and then out through your mouth to the count of 7. So you're doing a 15-second breath, 1 or 2 of those. Perhaps many of you have seen baseball pitchers who take a series of deep breaths before they pitch. That's a deep centering breath that calms the whole body down. So step 1, stop the thought. Step 2 is a deep centering breath to calm yourself.
Just a little side comment, I'll let you go again. We were watching the guys in the All-Star game last week. I saw guys in the batter's box doing this breath.
Right.
Now that you bring it up, I'm like, I just remembered seeing that guy take that breath. So that's unbelievable. What's number 3?
Maybe those guys worked with one of my colleagues or me, you never know. So
or they're ripping you off from this show. They're taking your techniques.
Number 3 is really important. Challenge the negative thought. Once we start challenging the negative thought, we then can be much more logical, and that will prevent more negative thoughts. So one way to challenge it is to say, this fear that I had that my client was going to be upset with me, that was the negative thought I stopped. What is the evidence I have to support that fear? What is the probability based on 0 to 100 that I'm really going to have the problem that I'm worried about? And is it really in my control or isn't it in my control? Because so many people worry about things that are not in their control. Okay? If you have an angry client who tends to be an angry person, I mean, I ran into someone in a parking lot the other day screaming at an old man because the old man cut him off and the old man was shaken up and I had to intervene. I said to myself, this is a man with an anger issue. I should give him my anger series tape because this man doesn't know what he's doing. He's got an anger issue, but he needs to understand what he's doing because he can change it. And so the first thing to do is ask yourself, what is the probability that the thing I'm worried about is really going to happen?
And I'm wondering if the angry person even understood that the old man never even intended to do any of this.
Exactly.
Probably didn't even see it coming.
Exactly.
Well, we're sitting on the couch with Dr. Jack Singer. We're trying to see what our issues are, and they're coming to the surface. Remember, you can watch all these shows at www.brokersalliance.com and check us out. After the break, we're going to come back with the last 2 steps with Dr. Jack.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Companies in our business are always touting service, products, and underwriting. And we do that too. But here's the difference. Now enter the world of the elite producer with a value package that cuts us out of the pack. A BD that approves social media marketing of non-FINRA products and doesn't take an override. With the best competition desk in the industry, and for our loyal producers, a true group health plan. No one offers that. Brokers Alliance does.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant. We're with national psychologist, sports psychologist, Dr. Jack Singer, ESPN, MSNBC, even Glenn Beck. I'm going to have to go back and watch that show. I'm sure that. And of course, he's spoken at many of our big players like MetLife, the Northwestern, Transamerica, the Principal. These are companies that are seeing the same similarities in professional athletic psychology, and it's all transferable.
Absolutely.
That's what blows my mind.
Yeah.
What we're talking about today are 5 steps to mental toughness. And I'm thinking, man, how mentally tough do you have to be to play in the NFL? I'd say pretty big. We talked about the first 3. Talk about this number 4, identity statement.
Yes, everybody needs an identity statement, and here's what I mean by that. An identity statement for an athlete might be, I am a superb athlete. I have put in a tremendous amount of work getting my body and my mind in condition to be the best I can be. I don't have to be perfect. There can be mistakes. That doesn't affect me at all. That would be an identity statement for an athlete. An identity statement for an advisor might be something like, I have been successful with so many clients. I've actually helped them to preserve their wealth. I've helped them to feel safe and comfortable if something happens to them and their family's going to need money. I've helped them understand what annuities can do for them and what long-term health insurance can do for them. These are identity statements that actually take the best attributes of who you are and what you've done and leaves out the negatives. It doesn't matter what you haven't done or the mistakes you've made. This identity statement is what you've done and what you're really proud of. And unfortunately, most of us don't repeat what we're proud of. We're constantly obsessed with what we're upset about and what we didn't do well. So the identity statement is part 4. Repeat it to yourself several times. So no matter what happened that led you to that original negative thought, you're now repeating that positive identity statement to yourself.
Well, I think a lot of our producers may have identity crisis enough to say, Doc, I don't even know how to write this statement. I don't even know what I'm supposed to put down and put on my, I don't even know what to program.
Yeah, well, they need to start thinking about that, and that's something that I can help them with. It's the kind of thing where they write down what they've what they've done that's been successful, what they've been doing that other people have complimented them on. They need to focus on that and take the focus off the mistakes, the losses, things of that nature.
Well, when I think about our identity, and if we have poor self-image, and we have, some of it is parental, some of it is environmental, or some of the negative experiences we've had. And we have some producers that feel in their 50s, and I have several friends that are good producers for us, feel like their career is nosediving. They don't know how to pull up. They don't know how to bank and get out of it. They feel like this is it, I might as well just retire, game over. But Doc, how do we make that transition from a poor identity to an identity statement that I can actually believe? I'm not just doing a mantra, I'm not just repeating it mindlessly, but I can put something down and believe it and see it start to affect my life.
Well, you have to look at the evidence of your success. Even if you don't remember it yourself, ask your boss, ask your colleagues, ask your spouse. Somebody's going to give you the evidence of your success. That's what you need to write down, because that's who you are. If you've lost the edge over the years, that's temporary. Who you are is where that success was. That's what you need to recapture, and that's the beginning of recapturing that identity.
It's perhaps, you know, I'm thinking sometimes you go into the mirror, you go to shave in the morning if you're a guy, and you forget who you are.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I think we forget.
And one of the most important things I tell people to do is to give themselves positive affirmations when they're looking in the mirror. Mm-hmm. Give yourself a positive affirmation, meaning what did I do that's right, and what am I planning on doing that's going to be right for me, and what am I doing that's going to be successful? Positive affirmations. The problem is most of us get up in the morning, look in the mirror, we don't like what we see, we start thinking negative right off the bat. I don't look great, I don't feel like doing this, my hair isn't, I'm losing my hair. We need to do positive affirmations in the mirror on the way to work, and when we get to work, come in there pumped up and ready to go.
Well, I'm thinking, Dr. Jack, since you've already walked through this in your own hair experience,
yes.
You know, I guess baldness is great, right?
Absolutely.
It's great.
Absolutely.
Your fifth one, which sounds like number 3.
It is number 3. The fifth one is you're going to anchor this with a centering breath again. So you've got a centering breath near the beginning, and you've got a centering breath at the end. In through the count of 4. Remember, in through your nose, out through your mouth. You may wonder why. I don't know, but we know in hypnosis that if you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, it relaxes you more quickly. I don't know physiologically why that happens. But a centering breath into the count of 4, hold it to 4, and then out to the count of 7, and you are then calm at the end of this. And you can do the whole thing in 5 minutes, several times a day, or whenever you need to, because you started with negative thinking.
I'm wondering if I should schedule this event. And you know, if I don't put it on my calendar, it's not going to happen.
Then put it in there to pay attention to negative thinking, because that's when you want to do this.
We've looked at 5 steps. Snap the rubber band. I actually, you gave us an out to say if you want to use maybe something else. I kind of like that one though myself. And I remember giving it to other people. Now it's time for me to give it a little bit to myself. Centering breath, challenging the negative thought. Now, without sounding like I'm, you know, I don't know how to challenge long and pervasive statements in my mind. They've been there forever. So I have to figure out, how do I challenge it? How can I confront it and win?
You tell yourself, this is simply a habit. I have a choice. I don't have to think this way. One of the things that's very important for people to understand is that events that happen in our lives do not cause our emotions. What causes our emotions is our interpretation of those events, the self-talk about the event. Events never cause emotions. It's what you say to yourself about the event, and you have a choice about what you're going to say to yourself.
When I think about all of our producers who may even be today going through somewhat maybe of a sales slump, like the one example I gave in the first segment, this is an opportunity to come back into the land of the living and recorrect thinking that has been pinning us down. Listen, don't forget, you can watch this show and all our shows this week. Just hop out to our site on our on-demand section at www.brokersalliance.com and view everything we've been talking about. That's the Buzz on the Biz for today. Get in the zone, the business insurance zone.
The Biz is brought to you by Brokers Alliance, a national leader in insurance products, support services, and educational workshops. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, We're the news you can use.